Some things are inevitable in life. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. The simple answer is usually the correct one. And if you want to play a competitive tactical shooter, you must start each half with a pistol. So whether you like it or not, if you want to play games like Counter-Strike or Valorant, you're gonna be restricted to using handguns for at least 2 rounds.
To just Snacks. Does find one.
Oh, no.
Let's not leave him out of this. The Big Apple, and Snacks is hungry. He's got 1 kill already on the USP. Low HP as well on Guardian and Flamey. He's trying to bait them out, trying to get them into one-on-ones as he dances back and forth between the box. What a shot on Simple! Oh, Guardian, bye-bye! And it's on to Flamey. He's tapped it. Flamey's got a big... What in God's name is that from Snacks? Unbelievable!
But as I said, it's only 2 rounds of the map. If you just can't get the hang of them, it's okay. Focus on the more important things, like rifles and scoped weapons. It's not like pistol rounds decide the match. Or do they? You see, even though pistol rounds do seem kind of quotidian and forgettable when you first start to play these games, many veterans of the scene have often speculated whether or not they actually have too great of an impact on the game. Others don't see it as a problem at all, and even excel at their pistol round proficiency.
You've said it enough times, and we've definitely seen it prove that Dennis is extremely good on these pistols to start that momentum off. Fast play, very fast play, and there it is! Oh my God, Dennis on cue, on point, all 3 kills again. I'm done. Don't even buy guns. Just this guy could use a USB for the entire game, and I would be convinced, because G2 certainly has to be convinced it might be the ace to Dennis with an absolutely perfect round.
But if the latter is true, then why? Why is the pistol round so important? And when it comes to Valorant versus CSGO, in which game is the pistol more important? Okay, so before we dive into the actual raw data, we should address a term of art that I'm going to be using commonly throughout this video. The economy.
How does a self-sustaining economy work?
I don't understand how the US economy works, much less some sort of a self-sustaining one.
Counter-Strike and Valorant are tactical shooters that include an economic system for buying weapons and utility. At the start of each round, players can use their money to buy guns. Getting kills and playing the objective add to your personal economy, as well as your team's, letting you purchase better items or just padding your wallet for the next round. Now, in order to keep things balanced, at the beginning of each half, every player spawns with the same amount of money. And in both games, you are only given enough to either upgrade your pistol, get a couple of pieces utility, or snag some body armor, depending on how you want to play the round. But why? Why have an economic system to begin with? Why not start with a larger sum of money? Well, it's what makes CSGO and Valorant what they are. That economic complexity is what makes the games worth playing.
It's a cool idea. Maybe this is as well. What is going on here?
Ah, yes, the pull stack, the pull boost.
The pool party.
Oh, FY pool party. That was a favorite.
Hello.
Starting off with as little as they already do helps add to the already existing asymmetry in the game. And this is especially true in Counter-Strike. In CS, certain weapons are exclusive to whichever side you're on. Terrorists get the AK-47, for instance, and counter-terrorists get the M4 or M4A1S. In a similar fashion, Ts start with the Glock, and CTs start with the USP, and both weapons operate very differently. Now, it's more common for Ts to upgrade their firepower, since the range of the Glock is kind of bad. But since the Glock does have a huge mag and boasts insane running accuracy, it might be in your best interest to either grab a smoke or some flashes if your plan is to sprint onto site. But most people love the USP that you get on CT side, since it's great for holding angles and taking long-range engagements. It's become an iconic gun in its own right, thanks to its propensity for popping melons and the sweet, sweet gush noise it makes when it does.
USB and Gade in a normal spot. That's a very nice shot from him, and he will allow his teammates to run distraction. Gade, what are you doing? That's 4 kills from him. Monstrous. There's the ace as well. That was nasty from start to finish. That was absolutely disgusting.
Some believe the USP is actually a bit overpowered, while others claim, rightfully in my opinion, that the Glock is actually better than the USP in virtually every respect except at range, and that the Glock's detractors just don't know how to utilize it to its full potential.
As Twist tries to do everything to defend the bomb. 2 kills for him. Knows that he can pull Oscar off it, but he's gonna find Stacks first. He's got that Twist! He's gonna try!
No Molotov to use as a smoke on the site anyway. Forrest has picked up one. Can he go any better than that? He knows it's been better. Oh my God, Forrest! Magnifique in Marseille! That was ridiculous!
With that being said, is one better than the other? And does it make attacking or defending easier? Statistically speaking, defending is easier. But that's to be expected, since most maps, and in some sense the game, are both just inherently CT-sided. At the PGL Major, for instance, the USP made up for 5.3% of all kills, while the Glock only made up for 3%. But keep in mind, both Ancient and the newly renovated Dust 2 are pretty CT-sided, and they're both in the pool now, so do with that information what you'd like. But this is where Valorant comes in. You see, in Valorant, it is way more common for players to upgrade their starting pistols, since both teams start with the same sidearm, and different agents offer different forms of utility. A Jet buying a Sheriff in the pistol round is actually way more viable than, say, a Silver 2 buying a Deagle that yours truly accidentally picked up in the middle of a retake, thinking it was a Glock.
Deagle, bro! Why do you have a Deagle? Why do you have a Deagle? I just wanted a Glock!
My boy KK Baller on Reddit was even nice enough to provide some statistics from Masters Berlin to further bolster this argument. The Classic was used most often in pistol rounds at 47% and had the highest win rate with 52%. Which, at the highest, most organized level of play, makes sense, since players of that caliber are more likely to opt for some utility over firepower. What's interesting, however, is that the Ghost was right behind it. It was picked 46% of the time and had a 49% win rate. On top of that, the Sheriff was only bought 2% of the time, but had the highest kill rate sitting at 98%. So don't get too salty when you get one tapped by a Sheriff right after full buying, since its conversion rate is, like, really good.
Sometimes I don't even want to buy a Vandal. Sometimes I would just rather just buy a Sheriff. I feel like the Sheriff is the biggest culprit of these thrifty rounds.
Now, all these statistics on weaponry are interesting, but they don't answer the question we're here for. How much do pistol rounds really matter? In 2017, 3Clicks Philip did an excellent video addressing Reddit user Physicock's research on pistol round statistics from big events. Physicock found that 68% of the time that a team won both pistol rounds, they would go on to win the map. Valve even responded and said that they got a similar number when looking at over 2 million competitive matches. So, yes, pistol rounds clearly matter, but that data was from 2016. And we wanted to see if anything had actually changed since then. So I took a look at the most recent PGL Major and found out that in games where a team won both pistols, they went on to win the game roughly 77% of the time. Now, that percentage might be a little lower if you wanted to remove overtime wins, but still, the answer is yes. Pistols are still extremely important.
And all three of them, in fact, going in that direction. The only one who's not is Olaf, who's back towards CT. On top of the box, though, it's Elise. He's got 3, and he's looking for a 4th. That is incredible from him to win out the pistol for Liquid.
Now, what about Valorant? Well, if we look back at the stats from Masters Berlin, the teams that won both pistol rounds went on to win the map 83% of the time. And at Champions, that percentage was 77.5%. That is fucking insane. And it brings us to our next question. Why does this happen? The short answer? The economy.
All right, I will buy it. It'll be good for the economy.
The long answer? Well, that's out of my pay grade. You gotta go ask Colten.
And now, the guy who actually knows what he's talking about.
Look, I'm not gonna pretend to know more than Dimitri about any tactical shooter. I'm a Halo and Apex guy. So what do I know? Math and spreadsheets. And these economies tend to get pretty complicated, so that's probably going to come in handy. And we're going to start with Counter-Strike. Let's start simple. Winning by killing the enemy team gets you $3,250, and $3,500 if the win comes courtesy of detonating or defusing the bomb. Any kills you got in the round, unless you bought a Zeus, the CZ, or manage a knife kill, net you $300 each. But here's where things get a bit more complicated. If the T side plants the bomb, they get an extra $300 for their win and an extra $800 if they end up losing the round, while one CT gets $300 for the defuse, and each team gets $1,900 base for a loss. Following me so far? Good. Let's take a look at 3 practical examples. First, if the Ts manage to plant, but the CTs wipe them and get the defuse, then the difference in average income is $1,160 in favor of the CTs. If either team wins simply by killing the other, the average income is $1,600 in favor of the winning team. Lastly, if the T side kills all 5 CTs and gets the bomb plant, the average income is $2,300 in their favor. Even just at a glance, it's pretty clear that the Ts have more to gain and less to lose in the pistol round. But the win-loss earnings aren't the only place that this shows up. The rifles, the core weapons in any competitive CSGO match, are on average $338 more expensive for the CTs, meaning every buy round is costing them more in pure firepower. Not to mention the $400 diffuser, if you don't want to be a loser, and the extra $200 on incendiary grenades. Valorant, on the other hand, works in a similar but simplified way. You get 3,000 credits for winning, 300 credits for planting, no extra credits for defusing, and 200 credits per kill no matter what weapon you got the kill with. So let's take a look at the same 3 practical examples from before. If the attacking team plants, gets wiped, and the defenders defuse, then the average income is 1,000 credits in the defender's favor. If either team wins by killing the other, then the average income is 1,300 credits in the winning team's favor. If the attackers manage to plant and kill all the defenders, then the average income is 1,600 credits in their favor. So, what can we actually learn from all these numbers? While the economic swing does seem to be more pronounced in CSGO, teams at the top of both games manage to convert the next round after winning the pistol about 80% of the time. In other words, a lot. In both games, if you manage to win both pistol rounds, you're likely taking home somewhere between 4 and 6 rounds just based on those 2 wins alone, especially if the enemy team decides to force buy, loses the next round, and decimates their own economy. Ultimately, winning the pistol can either jumpstart the defender's economy or build a strong early lead for the attackers. Winning just 1 pistol round can change the tides of a game more than any other round. But I'll throw it back to Dimitri before I answer his next question for him too.
And that was the guy who actually knows what he's talking about.
What next? Wait, what? What next question? Oh, right. In which game are pistol rounds more important? Well, obviously, if we just look at the numbers from earlier, 77.5% to 83% is larger than 68% to 77%. So winning both pistol rounds does seem to be slightly more important in Valorant than CSGO. But it's actually more complicated than that. To get the real answer, we need to look at, you guessed it, the economy.
Guess what?
Grows the economy. To win a match of CS, you have to get 16 rounds. In Valorant, it's only 13. Meaning, if you do what Colten mentioned and win 6 rounds, the enemy team has an even larger hill to climb. So in Valorant, if you go on to win the game after winning those 6 rounds, you've effectively won at least 46% of your rounds, while the other team is at an economic disadvantage. Now, technically, since you almost never have to double save in Valorant, the total number of rounds you can win off a pistol is usually cut to 4. However, that's assuming that the enemy team is going to save the second round. You see, YouTuber Bugsy the Bean discovered something very interesting when looking at buying patterns.
Pro teams convert their second round forces 36% of the time, compared to just a 4% conversion rate of full ecos. What proves that force buying is worth it, though, is this following statistic. If you lose the pistol, then save, you're only expected to get 4.7 rounds that half. Forcing second round instead of saving raises your expected rounds to 5.5.
Yes, his research shows us that saving might not be the play, and teams that force buy in the second round win more often. by a lot. And we actually spoke to Ethos to see if the anecdotal evidence of a pro corresponded with the data that Bugsy the Bean unearthed.
I've seen so many thrifties in Valorant, and you don't see that many ecos in CSGO. You don't see that, like, it's like, how often do you see Glocks when against AKs? Right, like that just doesn't happen really. But in this game, classics are the best thing to ever exist. The frenzy is busted. The ghost against rifles is really good too. Don't even get me started on sheriffs, and then like other things as well, like abilities.
Now, this doesn't suggest that pistol rounds are any less important in Valorant. Just that saving after a loss might not be in your best interest. And that maybe, just maybe, the reason that pistol rounds have such an effect on the outcome of a map is because pros aren't forcing enough. So yes, right now, pistol rounds are still technically more important in Valorant than in CS. But the game is just over a year old, and knowing Riot, the meta will change. Constantly. Pistol rounds will never go away, and will likely always be extremely impactful to the outcome of both games. But are we just okay with that? If we look at the PGL major stats again, you can see that the AWP, AK, and M4 still make up the bulk of the kills we saw. So it's not like the pistols take away from the viewing experience as a whole. Pistols might not be the sexiest part of the game's arsenal, but popping off in a pistol round is always satisfying, whether it's the gush of the USP or the sound of a major scale in Valorant.
Sure.
One enemy remaining.
It actually sounds more like an E minor scale to me, but close enough, Dimitri.
Remember, pistol rounds need to be as important as they are. They reset the half, create swings and momentum, and if Valve or Riot were to nerf them or restructure them, they'd run the risk of turning pistol rounds as we know them into kind of a gimmick. But knowing how much you stand to lose makes even the very first round feel as important as the last. It also makes eco rounds that much more exciting and special if and when they do happen. And without the importance of the pistol round, we run the risk of devaluing what makes Counter-Strike and Valorant so special. The economy.
2020. The economy is in shambles.
2021! The economy is in shambles!
So telling yourself that you're just not a pistol player ain't a good excuse. They are an integral part of the game and should be respected as such. And yes, they do affect the rounds that follow, but part of the appeal of these games is that you always need to be thinking 10 steps ahead of your enemy. You can even take all of this away and say that stats don't matter and that the better team will always win. But I think 3 Clicks Philip put it best.
Maybe we're trying to find a solution that isn't needed, changing things for change's sake. If Valve's stats are to be believed, and pistol rounds are no more random than any other, then why does it matter if it affects the next 2 rounds as well? Sure, 68% of double pistol wins result in victory, but does that perhaps make the 23% of losses all the more valuable to experience and to spectate? Perhaps clawing back victory in the 2nd or 3rd rounds, against all odds, makes the Counter-Strike experience more enthralling than one where the tide changes every round for balance's sake.
Let's get this bread. Let's cop this crust.
Attain the yeast.
Attain the yeast, breh. We need to take yet another look at, you guessed it, the economy. The economy.
The economy.
The economy.
To industry.
To industry, lads.
A gentleman's agreement.
A gentleman's agreement. Huzzah!